Thank you. So in the San Bernardino situation, that was a fiancé visa issue. Are you able to speak to that issue in terms of what type of vetting we do in that instance? Because I think people want to understand what happened there and how that visa system perhaps differs from what we're talking about today in the visa waiver system. Can anyone speak to that?
Sure. My colleague from the Consular Affairs Services can speak to that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I will. My name is Edward Ramatowski, and I'm the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Visa Services at the Department of State. With respect to the San Bernardino case, yes, indeed, that was a fiancé visa, which is a type of visa issued to the fiancé of a U.S. citizen for the purpose of coming to the United States to get married within 90 days. And I can confirm, as the department has already said, that all applicable security checks were done for that individual, Ms. Malik. That includes an immigrant visa interview. It includes facial recognition screening. It includes interagency counterterrorism screening. It included a review by the Visa Security Unit of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which has a detachment in Islamabad in our embassy there. And it included full biometric fingerprint checks. And in all cases, the results of those checks were clear. There were no indications of any ill intent by that individual at the time the visa was issued.
There have been public reports that there was some information that was wrong on the application, I believe on an address. Can you share what type of information or investigation are done on applications that are submitted to verify what the applicant is saying is true?
That varies by application and by location. If we have doubts about a particular part of a visa application, our embassies and consulates have anti-fraud units that can investigate further to verify the data on an application form. With respect to this particular case, I'll have to defer there's an investigation in progress led by the FBI. We have shared all of our details and records with them, and we're working closely with them on any of the data that was provided.
So as I understand it, in terms of verification, it depends on the circumstances, so it's not something done consistently on each application for example, the information that I would fill out on a form, where I've lived, connections like that.
We verify information if the officer has reason to believe that there might be something incorrect or inaccurate about it.
So the officer has to get a flag. In other words, it's not
That's right.
routinely done. Okay,
That's
thank
right.
you. I wanted to follow up on, in the Paris attacks, one of the attackers reportedly came through Greece in a visa waiver as a refugee, obviously. And that has raised the discussion we previously had in this committee about the vetting of our refugee program, upon which many of us have raised concerns. But Greece is a visa waiver country. And so presumably, had that individual come as through the refugee process, and how do we understand, are we confident in, for example, the information we get from Greece? Because how confident are we and I'm going to use Greece as an example, in the information that we get from Greece? Because as I hear the testimony here today and some of the prior hearings we've had on the visa waiver program, one of the things that we've collectively been concerned about is that there seems to be a difference of what we're getting from certain countries and the breadth of the intelligence sharing and the depth upon the knowledge that we get. And I'd like to know if you disagree with that last characterization, that there's a difference and there's inconsistency, and if you can answer the Greece question as well.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So
just to kind of level set the start of your question, is that refugees cannot travel under the visa waiver program. So it's citizens of the VWP countries that can utilize the VWP traveler for business or tourist reasons to fly to the United States.
Now, I understand that. I'm using it as an
Yes.
example of how people are going through countries.
Sure. I am confident that all VWP countries have signed information sharing arrangements, that countries are sharing that information, that we, the United States, are sharing our list with other countries, and in particular to Greece. I'm actually traveling there next week. I leave Saturday as part of our review process. So I will get a greater insight firsthand from Greece.
So here's my concern. We've signed all the forms among the countries. We're relying on this situation that Senator Portman and Senator Langford have talked about, where you've admitted to us that, and I think it's consistent with what our FBI director has said, essentially with the porous borders, we saw previously in the Charlie Hebdo attacks that some of the attackers actually had traveled to Yemen for training with al-Qaeda and then committed the attacks. And then we see the situation where Europe is frankly overwhelmed in terms of the number of foreign fighters that have traveled to join up with ISIS and then return to their shores. And so we've seen the FBI director say, listen, if you haven't made a ripple in the water in Syria, we may not know. And so we could basically query our databases till the cows come home, but if the information never gets in the database, then we're not going to know, and someone therefore is not going to get that extra level of scrutiny that they should receive. And so I want to get at this issue of where are the countries that we're having the most problem with a lack of robust intelligence to make sure that it's not so much filling out a form. It's not like, we'll provide you what you got. Who is giving us the most? Who's not giving us the most? Where can we do better? Because I find it hard to believe that they're providing us, every single country in this program, all that they can and should do. Are you telling me that every country in this program is doing all that they can and should do to provide us intelligence?
Senator Ayotte, can I add one thing to that question
Yes.
as well? And that is for those migrants that do come in, whether it be Greece or wherever, how long do they have to remain in that country before they get a passport from that country? Do we have a consistent system, or do we know what the system is for individuals that go into Greece as a migrant? Do they stay there 2 years and then they get a passport? When could they get a Greek passport then? Apologize for that.
Appreciate that.
You look like you want to.
No, I was
wanna
going to
talk
answer
over you.
that specific point. That generally speaking varies by country according to their own citizenship laws and processes. That is something, though, that's reviewed very closely by the visa waiver program inspections that we've been talking about. By my recollection, because I actually led 1 or 2 inspections of Greece several years ago, Greece has a fairly robust process for that. So it's actually very difficult in Greece to come in as a refugee and get a Greek passport. In part, there are language requirements and things like that the Greeks enforce. So that may be one, but it varies country by country according to their own internal laws. But as a general rule, the visa waiver program and the inspections require that the progress or the process is robust. You don't show up one day and then a week later have that country's passport. But it does vary.
That's right, and just to make sure I answer your question as well, I'm very happy to talk about specific countries and where they are. I don't think it's appropriate in an open setting to discuss very specific countries or the levels of sharing. And what
Okay,
they're sharing.
so
But
can you
happy to
just
do
answer
that.
me yes or no? Are we receiving all that we believe we can receive and full cooperation of robust intelligence sharing with every single country to their fullest extent in this visa waiver program? Is the answer yes or no to that?
I believe if they know someone is a bad individual that is
Are they
going
sharing
to
all their
harm,
intelligence
then
they can
will-
share?
Then they will share that with us. If
But they
just-
will, or are they? I mean, this is what we're trying to get at. We don't have to get into specific countries, but we're trying to figure out, is there more that we need to push on a gap of intelligence that will make this program stronger?
So here's where the enhancements that Secretary Johnson announced in August is we have the information sharing arrangements. That's not the issue. There's the individuals, foreign fighters that they're aware of, they're sharing. What we would like is and would help, and we appreciate where these requirements are codified in statute, is using that information for their border decisions, and pushing it out, and then letting the United States know when they have an encounter of those individuals. That's kind of the piece where we are focusing on and pushing that can strengthen the VWP program.